Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of The Martial Way. This time, Shihan Tom Callahan. He was one of my first guests, chairman of the USA. Actually, you can give me some of the credentials there, but I know chairman of USA and international secretary of Kyokushin-kan. I'm not sure if there's any other new stuff since we spoke.
I was promoted.
Oh yeah, there you go.
I'm now the vice chairman of all Americas.
Right
Latin
on.
America and North America. Yeah.
Congratulations.
But my boss, who's the chairman, is actually Canadian. He's from Vancouver. And Hamid Hasna, Shihan Hamid.
Oh, I'm not familiar with him.
He's Iranian, Persian, but obviously he lives in Canada. And a wonderful guy and a great martial artist. He's the seventh Dan. And lived in Japan for, I think, 11 years.
Persians love their Kyokushin.
Yeah. Oh, he's good. He's good. And so we work very, very closely together. He's a great guy. I'm an honored to call him a friend.
That's awesome. Yeah. So Shihan, Tom, and I have been chit-chatting a little bit lately, and so I asked him if he would like to come back on. And this time, I'll put a link here somewhere. You guys can go look at the original conversation we had. But I wanted to dig into something a little bit more specific today. And today I wanted to talk about. I'm sure we'll bounce around all over the place, but I wanted to focus on the mindset of a martial artist. So we were talking about how people, they have this, sometimes they look at it as a fight only or fighters only, but obviously it influences every aspect of your life. And most people honestly will probably never get into a fight, hopefully.
Hopefully.
So why do they train and what are they drawn to and stuff? So I really wanted to get your idea on that because I know even just from watching you're a pretty philosophical man. So I'd like to get your approach on that.
Well, it's an open-ended question. Obviously, it's a big question, and there's so much. It's about the philosophy of being of being a martial artist. The mindset, as you mentioned, and we all know it's about character. And we all know that most real martial artists, real good teachers, they will say to take what you've learned from the dojo and apply it to your everyday life, and apply it to your relationships, your work, your personal life. And really, that's truly what it should be all about. I mean, the fighting and self-defense and all that is why martial arts was invented and developed, of course. Mm-hmm. And that's still paramount when it comes down to it. But as you just mentioned, very unlikely you'll get in a fight. It does happen. You want to be prepared for it, of course. But for most people, most of us, most everyone, we are training to practice our self-discipline and perfect our character and all that. So, I'm writing a book, as I mentioned to you a couple of weeks ago, and we chatted. And the book is it's called Corporate Fitness, but that might be a sort of a misnomer about the name. But primarily, what it's about becoming the best person you can be, and it's a work in progress for all of us. And it's constant reflection, and the reflection is based. The foundational base is really the martial arts, the martial mindset. And in what we've learned to overcome obstacles, our self-discipline and our kindness and our emotional stability or instability, depending who you are in that spectrum, right? And so the genesis of it was my challenge of emotional, because I'm an emotional person. I'm half Sicilian and half Irish. So I'm an emotional person, and
100% Irish. So
yeah. So you get it. So my challenge has always been to control my emotions.
Me too.
And not react emotionally. And as a martial artist, you don't want to react emotionally. As a person in general, to bridge that, is you don't want to react emotionally. You want to be constantly in control of your emotions and about how you interpret the stimulus that comes at you, the challenges that come at you in daily life. And if we approach the challenges that come at us from a self-discipline place rather than an emotional place, I think we're all going to be better off. So that's what I've been writing about. That's what I've been studying and learning and teaching. And again, it's the genesis is really, I'm the guinea pig. And whenever I do anything personally, it's usually based on trying to affect my own character. And then out of that comes things I've learned about myself and about how to better myself. And then I just want to share it. It's really as simple as that.
And is there truly a corporate spin on it? Are you looking at focusing on that area?
Again, it was it's going to be hopefully for everybody, but the idea originally was, okay, I look at TED Talks and things like that. I said, well, if I write a book and can help middle to upper management be better workers, I could go do some seminars with CEOs and corporate events. Now, why would this help middle management, upper management, or vice presidents of companies, et cetera? And my thought process on that was, well, if the individual can become a better person, a healthier, more stable, more emotionally secure person, a happier person, which we all are striving to be the happiest people we can be, that will lead to becoming a more productive and a better worker. Because you won't be going to your job going, shit, I hate my job, or I'm not a good worker, I'm cheating, I'm taking credit for someone else's work, I'm trying to cut corners, or I'm hungover at work, or I'm unhealthy. I mean, all these things. There's a plethora of characteristics and virtues that help you become a healthier mentally and physically physical person. And by the virtue of being that, I think when you go into your job and we have to work, it's part of our society, it's part of our life. You will be a better worker, more productive worker. And I thought a CEO of a company would want happier workers, healthier workers, more productive workers. And I thought this would help these people achieve that. And so that was originally the idea. And I could go do seminars, and I can make a living doing that as well. And part of my way of teaching and sharing.
Well, I definitely think there's validity to that. I mean, my day job that I don't talk about much, I do work in corporate as well. And I have, I think at last count, 26 people under me on my team.
Wow.
And it's true what you're saying around, now, granted, COVID's been a lot different because working from home. Sure. And I like to talk a little bit about that as well. But when I was there physically, and granted, I wasn't there in my t-shirt and tattoos and stuff, I had to look the part in my place. It really resonates out. So your emotions, to your point, like, and I've struggled with it too. I'm an Irish boy. My thermometer, I turn red immediately over anything, which has been the hardest one to control. But there's
hardest one to hide too.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And it's one thing to control my own emotions and be cognizant of that, but I'm very, very cognizant of the effect that it has on my team. And to your point, if I'm having an off day, I'm having a bad day, if I don't flick that switch, it permeates out. I see it all the time. I can feel it. They're probably subconsciously looking to me to perpetuate the emotional feeling for that day. So yeah, it's tough.
So it's one of the things I've always known, and you've probably always known, and anyone listening and watching this has probably always known, is that we're not in control of everything, right? We're only in control of ourselves. We can't control things that we have no control over. Yet we still try to do that, myself included. But the first step is to be aware of you doing it, and then to nix it, So we can only control ourselves, and we can only control our interpretation and our response to whatever that challenge is. And if we're not able to, if it's an outside challenge, if it's something that's not in our control, we have to let it go. We have to just allow it to be. And it's our response to that will dictate how your staff, for example, responds. There's an indifference too. There's parts that you need to be indifferent to, and just let things kind of flow. And as a fighter, when you encounter a stress, when your cortisol goes up and your stress hormone goes up, many people say, oh, you can't control that. It's physiology, but that's not necessarily true. You can control that with training, and you do need the cortisol. You do need that adrenaline for strength, but if you don't control it, it controls you. You get the tunnel vision, you can't hear, and we've all sort of been there as we're younger. If we're fighting street fighting, it can be very disorienting. So if you can control it to a sense that you maintain your strength and you're using the cortisol and adrenaline in a proper fashion, you can use it to your advantage. It's not too dissimilar from everyday life or in the workspace or relationships or what have you, that you need to control those emotions, and you need to use it for your benefit or disregard it when it's going to be detrimental.
You just reminded me something. This is a really neat little segue and coincidental. So I've been using. I love biohacking stuff. You know, I'm in my 50s now. I'm trying everything to maintain that youth and working out and everything and keep healthy. Um, so one thing I use is this thing called a Loomis. And I'm not getting a plug. Nobody's paying me for this, but it's this device. It was invented in Israel, and it's you breathe, you inhale, exhale out of it. It regulates, and then it figures out what you're burning in terms of carbs versus fat, whether you're in more ketosis,
Ketosis, yeah.
or versus sugar. And so myself and my partner, we got this device, and I'm pretty fit. Like I'm pretty darn
Yeah.
fit. And so but every day and it goes from a range of 1 to 5, 5 being the worst. You're burning only carbs. And I keep blowing fives and fives. I'm like, what is going on? And meanwhile, she's like 1, 2, all fat burning. And I'm out there working out 6 days a week and stuff. So I thought mine's broken. So I got her to use mine. No, it's burning completely.
Wow.
So this will come around to the cortisol thing. So couldn't figure it out. And I was working with a dietitian around it, and that, I did different things, whether it was low carb or this or that, kind of tweaking different things. Decided to get a bunch of blood tests done with my doctor. Found out my cortisol levels were off the chart.
No kidding.
Yeah. So what they did dug into and deduced. Sorry, they went in and they found out that my liver, because my cortisol level was so high, so stressed, anything that I took into my body, doesn't matter if it was plant, protein, didn't matter. My body was converting it to sugar.
Wow.
Isn't that great? Yeah, which is carb. And that's why the machine was picking this up, that I was burning carb. So to your point, when people say there's nothing, soon I became conscious of that. I'm like, okay, this is nuts. Like, and there's not much one of the things they do, which is insane, they do surgery. They removed a pituitary gland because that's what produces.
No.
Yeah. I can't believe anyway someone would do that.
Wow.
So there's not much they could do with it other than meditation, mindfulness, and things of this nature. So I actually last week I had to take a week off from work. I had too much vacation built up. Took a week off, did personal projects and stuff. But one of the things I started my meditation practice again. All this kind of just chilled. Guess what happened? I started blowing 1s, 2s.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's
so cortisol.
Really interesting.
So it goes right to your how it affects you on so many levels. So
wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So and then when I talk further to the doctor, he's like, that's why you'll see a lot of people who hold a lot of stomach fat is cortisol fat, stress fat.
That's interesting because I've been stressed lately, and I am getting a little gut. I don't think it has anything to do with this. Seriously, I don't drink a lot of
I actually don't anymore either. I had to cut it down.
I really don't. But my wife's making some pizza tonight, so I'm gonna have a beer. But I have been stressed a little bit lately. I had COVID, and then worrying about my mom.
Oh, I didn't know you had it.
Yeah. My wife had it. I had it. My mom had it. Who's 85. I'm visiting Florida right now. I came down from Boulder to visit Florida for the winter and to be near my mom. And the first week we're down here, we got sick, and my mom got sick too. So I don't know.
Now, how's your mom?
She's totally fine. We're all fine.
Awesome.
But we around Christmas Eve, we got here. Like literally, it was the first week we were here. But I think that whole stress and everything else had added to a lot of things. And of course, COVID's really interesting because you get brain fog. I still am having a little bit of a tough time remembering names and certain words, believe it or not. I feel really strong.
Did you lose your taste?
Not tired anymore.
And smell?
Lost my taste and smell. That's how I knew I had it actually. I felt I did my New Year's Day training.
Yeah.
And I already had it, and I'm thinking, wow, I'm wiped out. And I didn't feel good. And when I lost my taste and smell, I go, uh-oh. And then I had it. So mostly with me, it was like body aches, headaches, loss of taste and smell. My wife had vertigo. My mom was wiped out. A little bit of runny nose, but nothing serious. Thank God we didn't have to go to the hospital.
Yeah, you're lucky.
And we got the oximeter with oximeter, to test our oxygen.
Yep.
And so we're okay now, thank God. And we have some immunities and everything. And but I'm having a problem losing my voice now, and I don't know if that's a relationship of it or whatever. But
Well, how long ago was it? It was around the holidays, was it?
yeah, the holidays. But
So,
we've been okay for a month. You know, it lasted probably 2 to 3 weeks, a couple of
okay.
weeks, but we were functioning. You know, we weren't. I mean, we were tired, but we weren't like really sick. But we were sick, but not like I've been worse sick than that.
Right.
But many people have been much more unfortunate,
Yeah.
much more unlucky. Yeah. But yeah, we had it, and that's why I kind of yelled at you one time on Facebook.
You know,
it's real. Put your mask on.
It's for me. It's not about, you know, we don't even.
But they are. But
I
they
believe.
they're over.
Yeah. For me, it's the lockdowns and stuff that get me.
I get you, man. I get you. I'm the same way. I feel like in Boulder, we live outside and we're away from people, and we're on the beach in Florida, so we just don't go near anybody. We're not in closed environments with a lot of people because it's airborne.
Yeah.
And if you're just away from people and you're taking walks, and you know, it's over the top. Sitting outside at a restaurant, I think is fine as long as you're 6-10 feet away.
So that's the insanity that gets me. And we don't have to get into like the kid who's a hockey player. The kid, the cops arrest him on the ice by himself.
Yep.
And like,
Saw that.
Seriously,
ridiculous.
Or the guy
really.
jogging in Australia or whatever. It's like, come on. Anyway.
I agree.
But you were saying that you were noticing some midsection?
I have. Yes, I mean, I'm almost 60. I'm not almost 60.
Are you
I'm
really?
going to be 60.
Holy
yeah,
shit.
59 and a half. So
I thought you were close to my age. Wow.
No, and I'm going to 61. So I
You're a handsome man, Tom.
Thank you. I work out hard, but not overly hard. I watch what I eat, but I'm not a Spartan. I eat well.
Do you have a specific diet or anything that you stick to?
Yeah, I mean, I was plant-based for a while. I would say I'm 90% plant-based.
Yeah.
I don't eat tons of protein shakes. I have maybe one every couple of days. Right. I work out with weights, but right now I don't have weights. I have some dumbbells, nice and stretchy things. A lot of push-ups, a lot of walking. I do my Kihon, and I have my students, so I train with my students on Zoom. But I eat really healthy. My wife's a health nut as well, and so we eat really, really mindful of what we're eating. Make sure we have plenty of vegetables, lots of greens, and we don't stay away from carbs. I mean, I'm half Sicilian, so I eat pasta. Not a ton of it, but we eat pasta, potatoes, but not a lot. We eat a lot of bean kind of protein, plant protein, a lot of vegetables, and that's really it. And we're just mindful. We're not Spartans. I'll drink wine. I think the most important thing to a healthy life is really moderation. My mom used to say that. She's a Sicilian one. Everything in moderation. And I think, as I get older now, I really believe that that's the truth. You don't want to stress yourself out by not enjoying your life. I mean, the reality is, and this is part of my book as well, is that life is impermanent, more the Buddhist attitude, it's impermanent. And we could get sick tomorrow due to no fault of what we're eating. I have friends and family members that are the healthiest people you could ever imagine who've gotten cancer, for example. Yeah. So anything can happen. And I don't want to not enjoy my life. Yeah. I want to enjoy my life, but I don't want to be stupid either. I mean, when I was a rock and roller back in the early days, I was not good to myself, with when I was like you're a rock and roller.
Yeah, so smiling, I relate.
So I toured and everything, and I was not a healthy person. I was a healthy, in my mind, in my heart, I was a healthy person, but I wasn't treating myself well. Yeah. I was in my 20s, so I could afford to do it. But as I wisened up, I said, I like being healthy. I enjoy being healthy. It makes me think more clearly. It makes me more creative. Yeah. And I enjoy not having injuries. I enjoy being able to work out and train. So that is part of the writing and part of the topics of the book. Like, it's not all about character, but I think being a healthy person allows you to think more creatively, and allows you to be more in touch with who you are, because you go inward more, self-reflection. And I think food and being healthy is an incredibly important part of that. And by virtue of that, the end result, residual benefit, can be better character, which is what we're all striving for. And I think a lot of it has to do with being healthy.
I couldn't agree more. And it's funny, that week that I was off, and ironically, I went more into fat burning. I actually ate more carbs. For that week, I wanted to do a Mediterranean style for the entire week. So every day I made a different Mediterranean dish, and it had a lot of carbs and stuff in it. and I went into fat burning. And it's
Yep.
because I had so much music playing and cooking and just
You were
relaxed.
happy. You were happy.
Happy,
You know, the endorphins that go into your brain when you're happy and satisfied and feel good about yourself.
Yeah.
It changes everything. And we, you know, I don't know if you're prone to it, but I am, to go a little bit down into a little more depression sometimes.
Yeah.
And I think we all are, especially during these
I was just going to say,
politics and COVID and everything else. But we really need, and my wife and I used to watch the news all the time. We watch the news very little now. I mean, we do turn on maybe an hour a day just to catch up. We don't have it on anymore because it's just too depressing.
It's so toxic. Yeah.
And you know, and it's to grab the headlines, and we understand advertising. We understand the concept of what they're trying to do, this clickbaiting, if you will, so to speak. We get it, but it can be a habit, you know, and it can be addicting. News can be addicting. Bad news can be addicting, and it's like 100%. The misery loves company is a real thing. There's sort of a weird comfort in being miserable, and depressed people. Sort of, it's difficult to get out of being depressed because there's a certain comfort in being depressed, but you've got to get out of it, you know. And I think one of the ways to do that is being grateful. It's hard to even be grateful. It's very difficult to be grateful when you're depressed. And and once you start to understand that you've got to embrace death, sort of, and it's the same attitude as a samurai. If you sort of embrace death or understand death, that it could come at any time and you could die today, you start becoming more grateful of what you have and what you could lose. And if you can think like that, you can bring yourself out of depression. I've been in depression several times, but I brought myself out of it by really forcing myself to be grateful for what I have, rather than trying to be, oh, poor me as the victim. And, you know, we all feel victimized, like I said, myself included, and at times. But if you start thinking about death as inevitable, and we're all temporary here, and then you realize, well, I have enough, and I could lose everything, and I'm grateful for what I have. And then you start feeling better and realize that a lot of people are worse off, and all these kind of things that you can really start being grateful for, and you emerge from this darker place. And I think in a way that, like one of my videos I did with the Jet Li thing I did, I discussed this. I discussed the depression, and I discussed that I never stopped training.
I'll put a link down here for people to see.
Yeah, oh, cool, thanks. And the training is so important to being healthy, mentally healthy, and that's what's more important than the fighting. Mentally healthy and we get there from the self-discipline. And when you don't want to train, but you go do it, you feel better. And when you're depressed, you don't want to train. I forced myself to train through that. And I was a competitive runner prior in my earlier days. And I knew that this was important, that the training is important because of what we said, the endorphins. That is a pleasure drug, right? But if you want it, you need to do it organically. It needs to be an organic endorphin as opposed to a drugged endorphin, which you can get to by antidepressants. I've never taken an antidepressant ever. I won't take them because they can be habitual and addictive, and then you're really messed up. Then you have a big problem with opioids. So we, as martial artists, talking about the martial mindset, to come a little more full circle, is that we have the ability to change our daily mental health. And if we train and we understand why we're training, and we train with the proper mindset, not just going in there kicking the bag and doing kickboxing. We go in there with a certain presence of mind of being present with yourself and understanding what you're doing while you're throwing that punch or kick, and trying to perfect your technique. Perfecting that technique, you have to be present, and you are not thinking about anything else, and your endorphins are kicking in. And so when you leave the dojo or your home, wherever you're training, doesn't matter where you are, outside or wherever, you're incrementally fixing yourself, so to speak. We're machines, right? And you're fixing yourself, and you have the ability to do that as a martial artist. And oftentimes I think we miss that as a martial artist. And to me, that's the number one most important thing in training is mental health, and being happy and being a positive person, and then being able to share that with your students if you happen to be a teacher. And if you're not a teacher yet, if you're mid-level or whatever, you should start really focusing on being present and understanding the self-discipline is gonna help you physically and mentally, and of course mentally, way more important.
Now, did you come into martial arts though with that mindset, or is that something that either
No,
organically? Yeah,
no, I started martial arts at 11. I had no idea about
right.
that. And you know what? But I gotta say, I started running competitively around 14 or 15, and I really credit the running more than the martial arts until I got back into the martial arts in more of a serious way. The running is a solo thing. So is martial arts. It's a solo thing. And I mean, I played team sports as well, but being in a solo sport or this Budo kind of a thing we're doing with martial arts, you learn about yourself a lot, and you can't lie to yourself, right? You have to look in this mirror every day, and you can say to yourself, "Oh yeah, I put the time in today." And then you can say, did you really? And you have to be honest with yourself. If you didn't, and you lie to yourself, you're perpetuating the bullshit that builds up inside of you. And that actually can lead to depression because you're lying to yourself, you know, and you know it.
Yeah.
So there's nothing wrong with being honest with yourself. No one's perfect. We're all imperfect beings. So and everybody, and your training ebbs and flows, just like your emotions ebb and flow. So when you're training and you look in the mirror and say, yeah, I did enough today. Well, you got to be honest with yourself. No, I didn't. Then you got to really get back there and do it. When it's too cold, you don't want to train. And I used to go out and run in the snow. There was a blizzard out there. I grew up in Boston, and I knew that my competition wasn't training, so I wanted to go out and do it. I didn't want to, but I did it. And this was just self-discipline. So self-discipline is, I think, probably the most important thing in life.
Are you familiar?
It really is.
Are you familiar with David Goggins?
Of course.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
right now. Like when
David's great.
For people who don't know, David Goggins is a former Navy SEAL, just all around badass. I don't know how else to explain David. He's just a machine. But yeah, I mean, one of his big focuses is discipline. And I like the story. He says, you know, sometimes even he's fallible. He's like everybody. He'll sit there on his couch and he'll stare at his running shoes for like 15 or 20 minutes. I fucking hate that. I hate those. Yeah. But eventually, I gotta get it.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Over time, and we know this especially as Kyokushin guys, over time, you don't grow by leaps and bounds. You grow little by little, incrementally.
Mm-hmm.
And this is why it takes a lifetime to be good. And also, it's also the reason you can't take any shortcuts with martial arts, but to be good at anything, actually, not just martial arts.
Exactly.
You have to be patient. And when I teach my students all the time, they come in as a white belt. You've heard it too. Sensei, when can I get my black belt? How long is it going to take me? It's like, why don't you know? And then you got to teach them. You can't be flippant with them because they're white belt or they're new and they don't really understand the concepts of Budo and the patience and the life. Not you know, you don't want to say lifetime to anybody because that will scare them. But you do want to teach them patience in everything they do. You want to be good at anything. You have to be patient. So. And you have to understand also that you're going to have good days and bad days. And yes, you might want to take a week off at some point. You got to try not to do that, but there's going to be times you just need a break. But when my students have wanted to take a break, and I've had them that's come to me, Sensei, I just need to take a couple of weeks off. I never let them out of my sight for those 2 weeks. I'll text them. I'll show them something to read. I'll inspire them with a YouTube video. I'll say, how you doing today? I miss you, whatever. And they'll be back. You don't want to lose those people because just because they want to take a break doesn't mean they're not interested or they're not a good person or they don't have potential. The whole idea about being a teacher is you want to inspire and you want to have those students learn and know what you know so you can be a better person. So you want to work extra hard for those kind of students. You really need to be a good teacher. You need to sacrifice a lot of your time, and you need to really lead by example and really take the time with those students, even though you say, yeah, frig them, I don't care. They're not just another student. You can't do that. You won't win them all, but you've got to make the attempt, make the effort.
And how actively involved are you? I know it's different now with lockdowns and whatnot, but how actively involved are you in teaching now? Remember the last time we talked, I know you had a handful of students because you were more, things of that nature. How are things now?
They're not great. I have 4 or 5 really dedicated students. I do Zoom. I'm teaching 3 times a week.
Mhm.
and on Zoom, and it's just not the same, especially with Goshin Jitsu or anything. You can't really fix.
Yeah.
So now what I'm doing, I'm getting a few of them together in my personal dojo in Boulder, and I give
Mhm.
them the key, and I have my heavy bag and I have stuff there, and they can actually work together.
Oh,
It's
perfect.
not easy. Yeah, it's not ideal, but it's better than just one-on-one on Zoom. So I can actually have them do stuff together, and they're wearing masks and everything as well. Um, the Boulder is much more safe, and they're all getting tested, and they're fine.
Mhm.
But and they really like it, and it's easier for me to do it that way too. But no, I really feel sad for there's so many of my friends and your friends I know that have lost their dojos, lost their businesses, and they were full-time instructors. And I'm not, I was supposed to do a seminar in the East Coast of Florida in March of this next month, but we canceled it.
Mhm.
And then we were going to have only a kata tournament in May. We just canceled that. And our April tournament in Japan was just canceled a couple of weeks ago. So yeah, it's been very difficult, and everybody. I feel really bad for all my friends. They're great teachers, and this is their livelihood. And it's really a difficult situation for everybody. I hope this passes soon. I think this is going to be over actually fairly soon, next 4 or 5 months. I'm
I
hoping
hope
with
you're right.
vaccines and everything.
Yeah.
So I was fortunate enough that I should say fortunate enough, but I have a supplemental income and a supplemental business.
Mhm.
Even though I was teaching 4 or 5 times a week still, I was just doing double duty. And our daughter is out of the house and lives on her own in New York. So
Mhm.
I don't have to be home taking care of a child, so I can still teach at night and things like that.
Mhm. And on that note, coincidentally, again, I found out that you're doing a seminar, or sorry, an online class with my sensei this weekend.
I got to say,
That was awesome when I heard that.
dude, I've always admired Steve Fogarasi Sensei, and we always had a little back and forth. I would do something, he'd do something, and oh, he's so good, and I would try to do something to beat him, and just really fun. I'm a fan of his. I really am. I think he's great, and so I just called him last week. I said, hey, we should do something together on Zoom someday. He says, I have my class at 3:00 on the East Coast every Saturday on Zoom. Why don't we just do it then? I said, great, let's do it. And so he made this really beautiful flyer a couple of days ago. It really happened that fast.
Yeah.
And so next Saturday, whatever date that is, 27th maybe, 3 p.m. Eastern time, we're going to do a Zoom class together. But it's going to be fun because I said, let's do 4 20-minute. We'll do 90 minutes, about 5 minutes on each side to talk, whatever. 4 20-minute thing. He'll do 20, I'll do 20, he'll do 20, I'll do 20.
Oh, cool.
That way it's not just, 30 and 30 or 45 and 45, whatever. And it breaks things up, and it's interesting for the people that are going to be there. I think we've already got like 50 people that are coming. It's really great.
Yeah, people are even reaching out to me as well. Like, how do I get this? So it's definitely taking off.
We have the link, and
Yeah.
I'm very open, and I usually just give the link out. Anyone that wants to come. Steve wanted to give the link to who asked for it. I'm giving it out a bunch of times today as well. But I think right before we'll probably just let it go.
Yeah.
But someone like Shihan, Jeff Wybrow, legendary
Yeah.
just texted me literally a couple of hours ago and said, Shihan, can I join your class? I said, join the class? I mean, you should be teaching. You can teach the class. He goes, no. He said, no, I just started training again, and I just want to be in line. So then, Jeff Wybrow has fought Dolph Lundgren twice.
Dolph said it was hardest fight, one of the hardest fights he's ever had.
Well, I just texted Dolph and I said, Dolph, I showed him Sensei Jeff's text to me, and I said, why don't you join too? And then I showed Jeff that. He goes, yeah, we can have a rematch. So I don't know if Dolph's filming. I haven't heard from him, but that would be great if Dolph showed up too, and it would be just a wonderful thing. But I'm really excited because I don't know what I'm going to teach yet. I haven't asked Sensei Steve he's going to teach. I'll probably do 20 minutes at least of, I'll probably do one of the 20-minute segments on Ikken.
And that was my request too. I'm not going to lie.
A lot of people ask me about that. And I, in fact, I was on the beach doing Ikken this morning. And as I get older now, I am more and more into Ikken. And when I teach the young students, when I say young, not necessarily age-wise, but younger learning students, when I just start teaching them Ikken early on, I see a huge difference in their explosive power, in their exponential growth in terms of going 0 to 60 in terms of speed, that explosive power,
Makes
and
sense.
then coupled with their fluidity and how they move. And so I'm teaching it actually more and more, even more than I was a couple of years back, because I noticed the difference in the student. And I'm
Mhm.
thinking, wow, this is really amazing how they're accepting this teaching so well. Even though they're tough, they want to fight, they want to be hard. But when I introduced Ikken and the fluidity of it, and the mechanics of it, and how it benefits their hard style, because Kyokushin's hard and Ikken's soft, and it's more circular. They're understanding the Chinese influence of it. They get it, and it really improves their sparring and improves their movement. Because as you know, a lot of times whether it's linear like Shotokan or
Mhm.
Kyokushin, who has a little bit of both, their movements tend to be tight.
Yeah.
The shoulders are up, and they seem to be not as quick
Yeah. It's
because they're
rigid.
tight.
Yeah.
Too rigid. So once I introduce Ikken and teach the Ikken mechanics, their movements are more fluid and faster, and their shoulders are lower and they move quicker, and et cetera. So, in 20 minutes, you can't teach a lot. You can just teach the foundational concepts. And,
Mhm.
and if anyone wants to learn more, I'd be happy to do it with them. But at least I want to get some concepts of it, maybe do a little standing Ikken, and maybe a little more movement of it, just to get the basics of the concepts of it. And
Shion, I'm telling you, there's a gold mine right there for you. Everybody's
yeah,
so looking for Ikken, and Kyokushin-kan is probably the only organization that keeps it as part of its actual curriculum. And then so everyone else is searching for it, and they can't find it. Like they can find
well,
Shuyi, and they can do other things that kind of simulate it,
I've
including
been lucky that
myself.
Sensei Sun Lee, who's Kancho's best friend, and
Yeah.
he's the one that does it. He's my personal teacher. I'm actually part of their organization, and he's given me the credit to teach here.
Mhm.
And whenever I go to Japan, I take 2 or 3 hour lessons with him, one-on-one, or maybe Shihan Henny Bosma will come
Right.
because he does this big time as well
Yeah.
in South Africa. He's also a great guy, by the way, and really knows his stuff. So, as I said, as we age, we still like to spar. We do the heavy bag, of course, but we have to be more careful. And we realize that it also helps our kata tremendously. It helps our kata. So yeah, I mean, I'm learning right from the guy, the genesis of it, who's
Amazing.
who's learned from Sawai Sensei, who invented it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, changed the name of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, you know the story.
Yeah.
Actually, you did a great piece. Marshall Way did a great piece
Thank
on
you.
Taiki. Yeah, that was beautiful, by the way.
Thank you.
So Sawai Sensei student is Sun Lee Sensei, who I've learned from.
That's amazing.
In addition to Kancho, of course.
Yes.
I've learned. Kancho introduced me to it. He's helped me. He's corrected my positions and helped me a great deal. But I've been able to train one-on-one with Sun Lee Sensei, which has been just a beautiful thing for me. And so I'm still not a master at it at all. I'm just know what I know, and as I experiment with it, and like anything else, you sort of make certain things your own, and you use it how your body works, but I'm still learning as well.
I had no real formal training in it other than like videos I tracked down and watched. I was introduced to it honestly through Hajime Kazumi. And because I loved his fighting style, and I was like, well, it doesn't quite look like the Kyokushin guys. And then after digging, I found out where it was coming.
Where did Kazumi Shihan get it from?
Exactly.
He got it from here.
Yeah.
He got it from Hiroshige Sensei.
Exactly.
Who was Kancho's partner in Kyokushin-kan.
Exactly, and he had quite a few other famous students that implemented that.
Of course, Yamaki, Shihan and stuff. And I trained Yamaki.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, it's another gentleman.
Yamaki's dojo, Shihan Yamaki, he's back in Japan now. His dojo is only about 5 miles from. He's back in Japan full time.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Okay. Oh yeah, Toshiki is now running his dojo. You know.
Oh yeah.
And so Toshiki was one of my students as well. But Yamaki Shihan, amazing. Obviously, I don't have to say anything about him. We've trained together many times, but we've never done Ikken together. Oddly enough.
No. You should.
But I mean, that guy's so powerful. I mean.
Yeah, I've heard stories. Yeah.
And Toshiki Sensei runs his Torrance, California dojo now. Oh. And Toshiki is one of my students as well. And he's just a great kid. I shouldn't say kid anymore, but he's got kids now himself. But he's really a great martial artist too. And he's a direct student of Yamaki Shihan. Kancho yeah. Yamaki. Anyway, I've been fortunate enough to just train with some great people and learn from these guys. And all I try to do is share what I've learned,
Which is so amazing because again, not everybody is like that, and I, again, between politics and organizations and personalities and stuff, some people can be very close-minded and close-knit about things. So I appreciate the fact that you are always so open to share. It's amazing. Like it's.
Well, I mean, when you come right down to the beginning of our conversation, it's about being a better person, being happier, having better character. I mean, all these things we aspire to. And if we don't share our knowledge, then it's the exact opposite of what we're supposed to be doing. You know, we're supposed to be sharing this. It's the entire idea. So as Sosai said, the more people that train, there'd be no more wars because everyone would have a better heart. So I mean, that's never far from my mind. Is that if everyone trained with the right intent, then we'd all be better people and we'd have less animosity towards one another, etc. So that's I really take that part very seriously.
How is Concho these days?
Concho's great. I just talked to him the other day, and in fact, he brought his dog into the dojo in Japan and showed me a little video. He looks great. He's healthy. I think
he looks amazing.
Dude, he's unbelievable. And unfortunately, well, not unfortunately. Fortunately, we should be seeing him in August in Costa Rica. I hope we can see him.
Yeah, I saw.
Unfortunately, what I'm saying is that this April training in Japan has been canceled. But hopefully, we'll see him in August in Costa Rica. But he looks great. He's training every day as usual, and he's amazing.
And how's the organization as a whole?
Yeah, it's good. Well, we're changing the website out, making it a lot easier for the branch chiefs and the global country reps and everything to use it, because as you know, when it comes to karate websites and organizations, things can get a little hairy. So we're trying to, the international committee, which I'm on, we're trying to make things easier, more simple, so more people can use the system easier. And we're going to start doing a little more merchandise from Kyokushin-kan to bring in more revenue for the dojo, because I mean, for the Hambu, like it's not just Kyokushin-kan. Every organization's hurting because we're not able to do seminars, which is a big revenue generator. You know, tournaments, of course, it's a huge revenue generator. So it's been difficult for all organizations, and so we're trying to make the website and our merchandise better, so we can generate and drive more revenue to us, so humble, and so we can continue this great organization that we have.
And how is it in Japan right now? Because I thought it was starting to open up more over there.
Up and down, yeah. It just went back. It went bad again. It just recently got bad again. Well, you know, it's just, you know, these different variants. You know, I'm not an expert by any means in this stuff, but we get South Africa's variant, get the UK's variant, and now these other ones that are manifesting themselves now. Who knows? You know, the thing that, you know, who knows what's going to happen? I'm just hoping that that we sort of get herd immunity, even though we're getting vaccines, even though people are getting sick and getting better. As you mentioned in one of your posts at one time, the sick are getting very sick, but the healthy are just getting it mildly and then developing antibodies. It's a really unfortunate situation, but it's reality, you know. So over time, I think personally, it's going to be more like the flu. We'll have to get booster shots, or if you choose to do that, or you're going to have some sort of antibody where you'll be semi-protected if you're healthy.
Yeah, I honestly, I saw the news, and it was one of the legit mainstream news organizations this morning, and they were talking about it's potentially that we are moving closer to herd
I think so.
Immunity now. So numbers are coming down, including in the U.S. One other bit of sad news, actually, Sensei Steve sent me today, and I looked into it, was Humbu Dojo, the old Humbu, is being dismantled this week.
See? Yeah, it's really sad. I mean, I talk to people all over the world pretty much on a daily basis now, and I hear some really sad stories. But, you know, people like, even that aren't even Kyokushin, like, you know, Albert Mady or someone like that, and he just lost his dojo. 45 years the dude's been teaching, you know, and a really good martial artist, and breaks my heart, you know. But, you know, you like I said in the beginning, if you take more of a, it's not religious, but a philosophical attitude, more of a stoicism kind of a thing, where these things are going to happen, bad things are going to happen. It's how you respond and how you interpret these. It depends on how you come out of it. If you choose to go super negative and not play the victim, but be the victim, this can be very difficult.
Yeah.
If you understand life is hard and bad things are going to happen, you know it already on a daily basis. You know something bad might happen today. It's how you choose to interpret that. And again, this is my challenge. And I talk like this because I'm dealing with it on a daily basis, but I'm cognizant of it. And I really do try hard, and I'm getting better and better and better. And hopefully before I die, I'll have it down.
I know. I've always said that thing. I'll be on my deathbed. I'll be like, oh, I got it.
Hey, you know what? If that's the case, there's nothing wrong with that.
That's a good way to go. With a smile on your face.
We're all gonna die. So as long as we understand that we're all gonna die, then you can live a little bit better, right?
Yeah.
Death's not something that to be feared. Even though we all fear it, but it shouldn't be feared. It's like, hey, it is what it is. It makes you live your life more. Probably why I don't save money. I get money, I spend it.
I'm really guilty myself.
Yeah, it's like, well, there's both sides of that coin, of course. But
yeah,
I like to live in the moment more and want to enjoy my life because you're not guaranteed a second day.
Yeah, absolutely. You never know what tomorrow holds. It's
follow your bliss, right?
Yeah. I do like very much your approach and philosophy on martial arts. I mean, I've been doing other shows lately and we have different discussions around that, because ultimately martial arts was invented or came about as a more war thing, a jitsu type of thing. And morphed over the years. We're not in a society that requires that anymore, but we still have that love and dedication of it. And there's so much more that we could develop from it. Hence why it became a do or a way of something. So I like that you're embodying that and trying to pass that on yourself.
Yeah, and I know I'd want to negate the essence of karate, which is fighting. I mean, me, I like to fight, and but as you say, you're going to learn to fight by training. It's residual benefit. You can't help it. You're going to learn to defend yourself and your loved ones and family, whomever. But so that's going to happen automatically and organically by virtue of training.
Yeah.
But if you don't have a teacher that's going to teach the other parts of this training, then you're only getting the fighting part, which is important. But like we said, probably 90% chance you'll never get in a fight, maybe higher, 99%, who knows? Of course, if it does happen, you want to, you only have one shot, so you need to be able to do it. But the rest of the time, 95% or more, you've got to have a lifestyle. You've got to have a lifestyle, and that's what Budo is all about. How you live your life. It's the ethics and the morals and the character and all those things, and living a healthy lifestyle. But most importantly, being happy within yourself, so you can be a better and more productive person in society. And that's equally important.
I find it's something very, I don't know how unique, but to me, it's very unique within Kyokushin. I have done other martial arts. I have black belts in other systems, but I never had such a change. Like from the day I met Sensei Steve, walked in that dojo, which happened to be his birthday actually, until flash forward to now, it transformed my life. Studying under him, studying Kyokushin, there's just, I don't know, there's something about it. It's very different than other systems I did. I don't know if it is that, perseverance, whatever it is.
Yeah, absolutely. There's an underlying current in all of Kyokushin, because it comes down from Sosai. The underlying current is you have to put your 100% effort into this. You have to persevere, you have to overcome, you cannot give up. I mean, this is the foundation of Kyokushin. And so a good teacher will not let you give up, because they're helping you by not giving up, because you're taking it outside the dojo, as we always say. You're applying these principles to your life. And I'm not saying other styles are bad, but I think a lot of other styles don't necessarily make that a focus. And it should be a focus because of the aforementioned reasons.
Yes.
So the underlying foundation of Kyokushin is Osu Seishin. And you take that and apply it. And you're already going to become a good fighter. You're already going to learn self-defense by training anyway. So, but most importantly is never giving up in life. And even when you get depressed, things will happen. You will get depressed. You will have challenges. People will die in your family. You will get sick. You will lose your job. You will have financial problems. All these things are going to happen. You can't play the victim. It's not just you. It's everyone encounters this. But it's how you deal with it. And I think the training is an important part of how you deal with it, if you're getting proper training.
Wise words from a Shihan. Any parting words? Anything you want to say? I'm looking forward to Saturday. I'll tell you that. But anything else that you want to?
No, I just am thrilled that I'm able to be part of this community, worldwide community of Kyokushin, because, like you just said, it changed my life too. I mean, believe me, I trained other systems like you, and I've done all kinds of stuff. But I think that underlying foundational concept of Osu Seishin and Kyokushin is the elemental change in our personality, and it's what's so special. It's so passed on.
Yeah.
And we have amazing other karateka, budoka that are teaching this all over the world, obviously from Shihan Cameron Quinn and people like that,
Yeah.
and Shihan Judd and all people that I respect so much that are teaching this and that understand it. And I'm just sort of trying to follow in their footsteps.
Well, you're doing a great job of it.
Thank you.
Shihan, it's been an honor. I want to thank you so much. I really am looking forward to Saturday, but thanks for juggling time with me today. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having me. We'll see you soon.
Thanks.
Bye.